interpretación al español por si alguien gusta escuchar la presentación en español. Tenemos audífonos, si levantan la mano le podemos llevar uno. Good evening. In order to provide language access, we have Spanish interpretation available. So if you hear us mumbling in the back, don't mind us. We're just interpreting. Thank you.
Hi there. We're going to get started since it's a little past 6. So if you haven't gotten the handouts, you can grab one at the end of the presentation. And if you haven't grabbed your student's transcript, Bill in the blue shirt can get that for you. So up on the board is tonight's agenda. We'll try to get through all this within the hour. We also have City College here, and then I want to introduce a special person, Meredith Brace, who's going to quickly talk about PTSA and how you could get involved. And then all the counselors are here except for Mr. Gill. So we're going to rotate through the slides and give you some good information, and then we'll wrap up and have time for questions.
Sorry for you. You were at the last week, so you'll hear the same speech. Sorry. Anyway, I've timed this down to about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, but I forgot that there's translation, so I need to try to slow down. It's going to be more like 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Okay. I'm Meredith Brace. You probably have seen my name on the Parent Square emails that you all open up and read carefully. Okay, yesterday I put one up about the Honorary Service Award. It's an annual award that goes to a community member or a teacher, someone involved at Santa Barbara High that you really feel should be recognized. So it'd be nice if you took a couple minutes and filled that out. We've had 14 responses, but I hope to get at least twice that. Let's see here. Just the important stuff. You might have seen the post today on the Ethnic Studies Forum that's happening on March 9th. That'll be interesting. So hopefully you can come. It's a Friday. They're serving dinner at 6, and then they're going to talk about it for about a half an hour. 4 years ago, when my son was a sophomore, he's now in college, the academies decided to begin to include students as 9th graders. So as a PTA member, as a board member, we started to see less and less involvement in the PTA because the academies would kind of suck up the parents. And I was an academy mom. I was a MAD mom. But I know that at least in MAD, there was so much parent involvement that I had plenty of time to also help out with PTSA. But I think that because they're starting now in 9th grade, people kind of get lost in their academies and they forget about PTSA. But it's important for us to remind everyone that the PTSA does a heck of a lot of stuff for every family and every student and every teacher on this campus, no matter if you're in academy or not. So I'm just here to urge you to keep your eyes open for opportunities to help out with PTSA. And I also do have to mention that we sat around at our last board meeting and were told by the person who we thought was going to be president next year that her child that's going to be a 9th grader is going to San Marcos. So we are desperately looking for a president. The good news is that every other position is filled except for some little ones. And the majority of us on the board are all going to be here for 1 more year, and we're more than happy to hold your hand and to help you. It's not that big of a deal. I was president for 2 years. All you have to do is wear the hat and tell people what to do. And there's a lot of fringe benefits. Can't talk about those now. But if anybody is at all interested, maybe even heading a committee, the president's most important, raise your hand. Come on, I have stickers. Oh, are you just scratching your ear? Okay, darn it. All right, please think about it. It's really not as big as it sounds, really. We can have coffee, we can talk about it, and the school knows where to find me, so hope to hear from one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith. So we're going to have Marcy Porter, who's one of our counselors, come up and explain how to read the transcript, which is something we have taught all your students to do, but we'd love to have parents understand how to read the transcript as well.
Okay, so go ahead and pull out the transcript that hopefully Phil Beach gave to you of your student. And I will do what I do with the kids and kind of walk you through this, but it's important. And I'll explain to you the transcript. If you didn't get one, Mr. Beach over there has one for you. Especially perfectly designed for your child in mind. First thing we wanted to tell you about the transcripts is what we tell your students. This transcript is an official document like your birth certificate. It'll follow you the rest of your life. You want to make sure everything is on it accurate. We have people come for, I don't know how many of you graduated from Santa Barbara High, but we have people come all the time, past graduates. We had somebody come graduated 40 years ago, needed a copy of their transcript. So we tell kids over and over again how important it is to make sure everything on their transcript is accurate and they understand it. So wait a second for a couple more to get their transcripts. Okay, so the first thing on the transcript, you want to make sure that is your student's name, the grade, sex, birthday. We've had students in the past with the wrong birth date. School ID, they have that memorized. If you ever want to know who your child's counselor is, we have that listed on there as well. And then the parent guardian name, address, and phone, that is the main contact address and phone. We have a lot of kids who have parents, live separately and they have 2 different addresses, 2 different phone numbers, but we put the main address and phone number on there. So you just want to double check to make sure that's correct. The next thing is important. It goes, every semester is broken down to little brackets and little lists like this. So for your child, they are sophomores. They would have 3 semesters. So unless they did summer school, they would have 3 little blocks like this, squares. It contains all of their grades from the 1 semester. So you can see them listed. If you look on the left, there's a little plus sign. The plus means it's a weighted class. So for instance, this student has English 10 honors. They got an A in that class, so they would receive 5 GPA points instead of 4. The numbers on the far right are the number of credits they get. It's listed twice, but they only get 1. And the little star, so if you see the little star by girls basketball, that means it's not in the academic GPA, which we'll show you in a minute. It's not involved in that. So this is the 1 semester of a student's transcript, and it lists how many credits they attempted and how many they completed. The next thing that's super important, and we point this out when we went to your students' classes, we emphasize this a lot. In the bottom left, you'll see listed 4 GPAs. The academic GPA weighted, non-weighted, and total GPA weighted and non-weighted. The academic GPA weighted, we often have your students circle this number. The one right there, that is what we use for ranking. So when colleges look, we tell kids memorize this, know this. For your student, chances are that GPA is going to keep going up. A lot of them are taking weighted classes, they're doing better, their GPA will go up. Our highest GPA last semester for a senior, I believe, was like a 4.9. Anything over a 4.0 is great. 3.0, wonderful. 2.0 is good. So the higher the better. It's important that you know that the difference between academic GPA and total GPA includes PE and sport. So that's why for most students, the total GPA is going to be less than the academic GPA. It's just a mathematical situation. Or if you add in unweighted classes to your weighted classes, you're just going to have a lower GPA. Credits attempted for sophomores should be 90, completed 90. If your student on their transcript has less than 90 units completed, that means they're behind. It could be an error where they took a class and didn't get credit. If they have 90, they're right on track with their ultimate goal as a student to take only 4 classes their senior year. But 90 and 90 is kind of what we're looking for. A lot of our students have more than 90 because they did summer school before they started freshman year, or between freshman year and sophomore year, or they take extra classes during the year. Most students, you get 5 units for each class. PE and sports are 2.5 and 2.5 for each each quarter, but 90 and 90 is what you're looking for. So on the right-hand corner, this gets a little confusing. This is the graduation requirements in order to get down the hill. And the stadium will be done, so your kids will actually walk down the hill, which is very exciting. We have the totals. So total credits needed to graduate is 220. Used to be 240 years ago, but it's 220. Your student hopefully has completed 90, and then you can see on the right-hand side how many credits they have left. It breaks it down. You need 4 years of English. Econ and Gov is what you do senior year, history junior year, world history sophomore year. So it kind of breaks it down. We have students ask all the time, I'm taking science my junior year for my third year. Where do my extra credits go? And I need all these electives. I'm never going to be done. Anything, once you fulfill your requirement, like let's say after this year you're still in a sport, those PE credits will go down towards electives. Anytime you do extra math, science, and social studies, they first go to the very top, where it says fine arts, language, tech. Once that is fulfilled, it goes down towards electives. So we always tell kids the key is to take 6 classes each semester. Make sure you take your math, English, science, and social studies. Somewhere in there, take an art, fine art, or make sure you take a language. You'll be in good shape. So that's kind of the key to those numbers. You are more than welcome to ask for a copy of your student's unofficial transcript at any time. Any office can fill it out, or you can have your student log on to Aries portal, and they can print one out as well. Official copies are through the registrar's office or ordered, but unofficial, you just ask anytime and we can print one out. And we give students a copy of their transcript often when we go out to them, because we want to make sure they know how to read it and they understand it. That was it. And Mr. Sophomore is next.
Hi, thanks for being here. I've got a couple of slides to cover. And if you look, there's a handout of this. You might have that, you have that in front of you. And this explains high school graduation requirements and also UC and Cal State admission requirements. And so if you look where it says A, how many years of social studies are required for graduation, right? You need world history, U.S. history, government, and economics. But then how many years of social studies are required for admission to a UC or a Cal State? 2 years required. So our kids are already doing that just by virtue of taking what they need in order to graduate. And you just go down line by line. Social studies, English is 4 years, math is 3 years. You have to do that for graduation and for college admission purposes. Science is 2 years, language other than English. And so if you don't have this handout, feel free to pick one up. We've got them over on the table. And then on the next slide, this is what we review with our students. Hold on, I'm having a hard time with the microphone here. What's it take to be UC eligible? And we use the UC system as the barometer really for all of our students. No matter where you end up going after Santa Barbara High School, if you prepare as if you're going to go to a UC, you really have the whole world open to you, all the private schools. And if you end up going to City College, which a lot of our students are choosing City College now, they're doing all the right classes and they're getting into 4-year schools, but they're actually now saying, you know what, it's going to make more sense for me to go to City College, especially given the promise and 2 years for free. Nonetheless, we still want as many people as we can get to be UC approved. And so what's that take? Well, that's when you hear the A through G requirements. That's what we're referring to, and that's all down the left-hand side by subject area. So history, 2 years required. English, 4 years required. Math, 3 years required, but 4 years recommended. So all of our juniors, they might have 3 years of math done, but we're going to recommend and strongly suggest that they take math in their senior year. We don't want them taking a year off of math. Lab science, 2 years required, 3 years recommended. And 4 years is just that much better, especially if you're interested in some type of science major. Maybe you'll take an AP level science in your senior year of something you're interested in majoring in. Language other than English, we offer Spanish and French here. 2 years required, 3 years recommended. And maybe some of your students have taken the city college option of taking any like a Spanish 101, French 101, American Sign Language 101. There's multiple city college classes that you can take that take care of that 2-year requirement. And then sometimes students will take even 2 or 3 city college classes in that same language. And then the next one is F, so visual and performing arts. So we have tons of classes that satisfy that, like freehand draw and calligraphy. We have art 103, which is a city college dual enrollment class. So we've got lots of different options for our kids to get that completed. And then the college prep elective is the G, and that would be like a 3rd and 4th year of science, a 4th year of math, a 3rd and 4th year of foreign language. Those are all considered because you're electing to take that additional year. And then the exams that are required, your 10th graders all should have taken the practice ACT in October, like our entire school did that. And then in their junior year, they will take the practice SAT. It's free for all of our students, and now we've had everyone at least take the practice ACT once, practice SAT once, and then you want to take the real SAT and or ACT by the end of your junior year. They're pretty much interchangeable. UCSB will take the highest SAT or ACT, so a lot of times I'll recommend go ahead and take both. Let's see which one you do better on. I've had students score dramatically better on one or the other, and it's hard to know why, so I always think it's really worth it to take both of those. We also have fee waivers available if your family qualifies, so we never want the cost of a test to deter the student from not taking it. And then you're also allowed to test again the SAT or ACT in the fall of your senior year and still have that count toward your college application. So sometimes students will take it. Like I had a student who retook the ACT again this fall because he just wasn't happy with the score, and he knocked it out of the park. And he just found out today actually he got like a $28,000 merit scholarship to Northeastern. He's one of our seniors, so it was really. He just emailed me and said, "Oh my gosh, that was so worth it. You did that. You got ACT done." So keep that in mind. And that's the UC A through G. So now I'm going to introduce Spencer Barr. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff, for taking everything I was talking about. Appreciate that. There's a lot of it. That's okay, though. No worries. Okay, so college testing. So, like Mr. Sophomore mentioned, these are some tests that your students are anxiously awaiting to take, right? They're so excited to take these tests. So, why take the tests? So, universities, so we're talking about 4-year schools, they, for the most part, require one or the other. There are some universities out there that are test optional, so you can technically go through high school without taking these tests and still get into one of those colleges. I will say there aren't very many of them. So basically, plan on the SAT or the ACT next year. Some students will take both because they don't know which tests they're going to be better at. Let's see, what else? So students usually, the timeline for junior year, most students will take it about this time as juniors, so about a year from now. The students that are really anxious to get that going might take one late in the fall or over the winter, so November, December, January. But for the most part, our juniors right now are gearing up to take their first SATs or first ACTs in February, March, April. Okay, so basically plan a year from now, that's when your kids will start thinking about and taking these tests. The big thing for this bottom bullet here, if your student has a 504, make sure you're talking to your counselor and setting up the potential extended time or other accommodations that your student might be eligible for, you definitely have to talk to your counselor and get that process going. So as sophomores, right now, if your students are in either AP classes and they're thinking about taking those AP tests in May, now is the time to meet with your counselor to make sure those accommodations are in place. Okay, so what's the difference between the ACT and SAT? The major difference, a completely different scoring system. The ACT is out of 36 points, and it's been that way for a very long time. So that has not changed. The SAT originally was 1,600 points, then for about 8 years or so, it switched to 2,400 points, and now for the last couple of years, it's been back to 1,600 points. So if any of you took the SAT way back when, it was 1,600 points, it's back to that. So it's a lot easier to figure that out. So that's the major difference. And then another major difference is the ACT has a science section. That science section, if a student is really gung-ho about science, make sure they take those practice tests in those for the ACT, because the science section is actually more math-based than it is science, even though it says it's science. So that's another major distinction. And then with the essays, they're a completely different way of asking the question. So the SAT, if you look at the very bottom row, the SAT is responding to a prompt and responding to how that author is writing. For the ACT, it's more about bringing in the student's perspectives on the prompt. So it's a completely different way of writing. It's basically the same length of time, but very different way of thinking about writing. The overall test is basically the same length, 3 hours and a half, 3 hours, 40 minutes, and that's with the essay. The last thing I'll mention about the ACT versus SAT, both have optional essays now. We highly recommend that you take the essay portion, that you opt to write the essay. There are some colleges that don't really care about the essay, but for the most part, they want you to have the essay. So please encourage your students to take the essay portion as well. Yes, there is a handout over there. Oh, one more thing about that handout. On the back of it, just so you can start noodling around in your brain, it's a very simple guideline to the 4 systems of higher education. We'll talk a lot more about that in the next couple of years, but the front side is the SAT versus ACT, and the back side is just the basically 4 systems of higher ed. Okay, subject tests. What are those? So the SAT, the College Board Company, has created 1 hour-long subject-specific tests that basically show a student's ability in that subject matter. We highly suggest students that are thinking about some sort of a science field, math, business, a lot of those majors will highly recommend that students submit subject test scores for those. The major one that your sophomores might consider taking this year would be Math 2. A lot of our sophomores will take Math 2 subject test. A lot of our sophomores will take the World History subject test. It's definitely advisable to take a subject test after the subject that you've taken. So for instance, all of your kids are in World History this year. So at the end of the year, perhaps in June, consider taking the World History subject test. Yes, question? Yeah, so the subject tests are, it's again through the College Board Company, so they're offered on Saturdays, but it's not every Saturday that a regular SAT is offered. It'll be a regular SAT and a subject test for one weekend, and then maybe the next time the SAT is offered, subject tests won't be offered then. So it's not all the time. All right, lastly, AP exams. So some of your students might be in AP World History right now. There's some students, some of your students may have taken AP Physics last year, so you know what this is about. But the AP testing window is usually the first 2 weeks in May. This year is actually the second and third week of May. And students will, if they've taken an AP class, they'll have the option to take the AP exam, which is basically like a final exam given in the month of May. That's about 3.5 hours long. So it's quite a lengthy test. We don't require students to take the AP exam after taking the AP test, but we do suggest it. Students can get college credit for doing the AP exam if they pass. The AP is scored on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scale. Scores of 3, 4, and 5 are considered passing. And then this bottom bullet here, you can actually take an AP exam regardless of whether you take the class or not. So we have some students that are bilingual, naturally bilingual, and sometimes they'll just jump in and take the AP Spanish language test and knock it out of the park. Something that maybe they've never taken a Spanish class, but because they're bilingual, it's pretty easy for them. The AP Spanish literature, that can be definitely difficult because oftentimes bilingual students might not have that literature background, but the language could definitely be one that they do well. We have some students that will be perhaps taking AP Psychology. That's one that some will do. Others that are bilingual in other languages, like German or French, they might be wanting to do those AP exams as well. All right, next up, Phil Beach will be talking about summer options.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for coming. So first thing we wanted to highlight for you guys is the Santa Barbara Education Foundation. These are a list of options that your students can be doing over the summer. So the Santa Barbara Education Foundation is run through San Marcos High School, and you can sign up for a class or two to do over the summer and catch up on credits or get ahead on credits, depending on where they are with that. Santa Barbara High School only offers credit recovery, so those are going to be Odyssey online classes that they would do. They can do them here with us, and those are all online. So we want to make sure it's clear that those are for credit recovery if they have trouble passing a class and they're going for that C or better in a class to be A3G compliant. We want to give them that option here on campus. Another great option to take advantage of that summertime is doing volunteer work or internships. It requires 60 hours of volunteer work for graduation. Their first summer, or their second summer rather, is a chance for them to get ahead and free up some time for the last 2 years of high school, so that's a really good opportunity there. And then internships, their schedules are freed up, and so we like to give them that opportunity and give them some guidance on finding good internships. So you can see Spencer Bar in the Career Center to seek out opportunities there. Finding a job. So a lot of times this is the first chance for kids to get into a job and experience the workplace. And summertime is a great time to do that when the academic load is off of them. So we like to encourage our students, if one of the above options isn't for them, try to find a job and see what that's like. Also visiting colleges. You have the freedom to kind of travel a little bit more without school schedules on your back. So we encourage kids to go out there, look at colleges early, and get an idea of where you might want to go. Another option at colleges, and we've had one of our counselors here do this, is you can do a summer program at a college. It can be a college that you're interested in, or maybe just one that you want to see. Our counselor, Jeff Sophomore, did a summer college program at Harvard. And so he got a chance to go and be a Harvard student for a summer. So that's a really good opportunity that we like to highlight for our students here. Next up, we have our dual enrollment specialist from Santa Barbara City College. We're really lucky to have her, Christina Lamelli. She's going to tell you guys about dual enrollment.
Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome. So my name is Christina Lamelli, and I'm the Dual Enrollment Program Advisor at Santa Barbara City College. How many people here have heard of dual enrollment? ¿Cuántos aquí han escuchado de doble matrícula? Quite a few of you. Okay, thank you. I forget, sorry, we have translators. So dual enrollment, what does dual enrollment mean? Next slide. So dual enrollment means that your student is in high school and college at the same time. We have dual enrollment opportunities starting this summer after 8th grade graduation. So it's pretty early, very young age. It's not for everybody. Dual enrollment is meant to sort of challenge the students a little bit more, give them a different experience, and provide them an opportunity to take college classes. And the benefits of doing this, there are many. So the benefits of doing this is that they can, I guess one saying that they use is kill two birds with one stone. So you can take a class and meet a high school graduation requirement and potentially meet a college graduation requirement. So as a parent, when I think about that, I think of, okay, so what is the benefit to me? Well, one of the benefits to me as a parent is I will have less money to pay when my child goes to college, depending on the class they take. And that is because while they are in high school, dual enrollment classes are free. And when we say dual enrollment classes, sometimes families think, okay, well, which ones are dual enrollment? They all are. So any class at San Barbara City College is available to them. There are some restrictions. Health 101, they have to be 17 years old to take that. Math and English, they have to assess into college level math and English in order to be able to access our math and English classes. So a couple exceptions. Another benefit with the partnership that we have with the local unified school district is that we offer many courses at the high school campuses. So the beauty of that is that your student does not need to leave the comfort of their high school. They can actually experience a college level class right here on their high school campus during their high school hours. So that's another option as well. And online. So sometimes families will ask, okay, what about online courses? Can they take those? Yes, they can. It's also a really great opportunity for your students to start exploring different career interests. Thinking about me as a parent again, or even as a student back when I was in college, not really quite knowing what I wanted to major in. Would you rather spend all that money once they are in college for your student to try to figure it out and kind of dive into a few different electives? Or you can have them start exploring different career opportunities now. So especially our career technical programs at the college, if they're possibly interested in any of those fields, they are welcome to come and test a class out and take it without the commitment of you having to have a large financial commitment to it. And last but not least, it's a path to earning their degree in less time. So Mr. Pablo Becalou, who created the dual enrollment program at Santa Barbara City College many, many years ago, I think it's been 25 years ago, he is always so grateful and boasts about the fact that he was able to get his 3 daughters through universities in 3 years, as opposed to 4 or 5, which seems to be the new norm, and saved himself thousands of dollars, especially because his daughters were all high achievers and all got into Stanford, Harvard, UCLA, okay? So he saved himself quite a bit of money doing that. Next slide. So summer session, this is the hot topic right now. So there's many students and families that are thinking about summer options, summer opportunities, such as the ones that, I think it was Mr. Beach had talked about summer options. Santa Barbara City College is another option as well. My daughter took advantage of quite a few summer different options. So she did the Santa Barbara Education Foundation, which worked out really great for us. That was where she was able to take her health class because she was not yet 17. And then the following summers after that, she decided to do dual enrollment classes and was able to get quite a bit of high school graduation requirements out of the way. She needed to free up her schedule during the academic school year to be able to participate in all the activities that she's interested in here in high school. That could only fit, during certain class periods and to not have such a tight schedule. So she was able to free up a lot of her time during the regular academic year. Summer session. So we have 2 summer sessions at Santa Barbara City College now. We tend to advertise to the high school students the second summer session because the first summer session is still while they're in high school. And we've seen that it could at times be challenging for students to do summer session 1 while they're trying to end the year on a good note and in the middle of finals. So summer session 2, it's a little bit different, starting a little bit later this year. And it's on a Saturday, which is June 30th. Most classes, though, will start on that following Monday. And it goes to August 10th. So it's 6 weeks worth of coursework. Traditionally, it's 16 weeks of college coursework. You have all 16 weeks crammed into 6 weeks. Summer's a great time for your students to think about taking a class at Santa Barbara City College. It's the only academic thing they're doing in summer. They have the opportunity to focus a little bit more on those homework assignments and get that done. The success rate of high school students in summer session at SBCC is super, super high. I think one great thing just for me as a parent that I was able to see in my daughter is that this was actually a way for her to kind of see herself in college, even though she was only in 10th grade. She was successful in the college course. She was able to feel very confident and comfortable, and now can see herself as a successful college student, prospective college student. She's a senior now. And I think it just does a really great thing of building that confidence in our students who may not really know whether college is for them. So it's been a great opportunity that we have taken advantage of. I am going to have at the table, I'm not going to go over all the details of when they start. You can see it here, but I actually have a similar handout with all this information on the back table. Please feel free to come to the back. You can get the dates of when they can register. Summer classes just were posted today online. So for families that are thinking about their summer plans and want to kind of see what courses will be offered, you can go to sbcc.edu/classes. And summer and fall schedule for 2018 is now out. Again, I'll have that website printed on the flyer that I have in the back as well. Advice, just going to leave you guys with one quick word of advice. Do these grades matter? Yes, they do. They become a part of your student's permanent college record. So you want to check in with your students often. Check in with them after the first, if it's summer, check in with them after the first day. See how they feel about it. Check in with them again after the second day, third day. There will be deadlines for them to withdraw from their course if they feel that it's going a little too fast for them. And just be mindful of those drop deadlines. They're very strict at the college with their rules and their regulations, and there's not much leeway around it. So please be mindful of the drop deadlines. You can find the drop deadlines for each specific class on the schedule that's online. So when you go onto the online schedule, if you click on the blue CRN number for that specific section, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see critical dates down there. All right, thank you, and I will be, oh, quick question? So the approval form they obtain from their high school counselor. We suggest that students go into the counseling office and make an appointment with their high school counselor. Their high school counselor will be required to sign off on the courses that they're requesting. So yes, and I have all the steps to the registration process in the back. The basic flow of it, I'll go over it really quickly with you. Apply to SBCC. Set up their pipeline account. Go in and meet with their high school counselor to get the approval form. Turn in the approval form to Santa Barbara City College Admissions Office. And then register on April 20th, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. I guarantee you that by 8:05, by 8:03, the more popular courses will be full. Summer is super popular among our local high school students. If you were to walk into a classroom at Santa Barbara City College this summer, you would see 90% of the students sitting in that class are high school students. So it's just kind of gotten super, super popular over the past 5 years. The benefits, I think, of it are just, parents talk to each other about it, their experience. So just, be aware. We'd also have fall and spring and next summer. You're in a great position since your students are only sophomores right now, so you still have a few summers to still try to get some things out of the way. Yes? great parent tip. Yes, great parent tip. Talk to your fellow, other 10th grade parents. I also have that word of advice on the sheet that I have in the back as well. They can always show up to the first day of class and be nice and beg the instructor for an ad code if there's seats available. What's that? Yes, our professors love our local high school students, by the way. They feel that they sometimes add a lot more to the class environment than traditional college students who aren't sometimes fully there. So high school students are more engaged. They love them. So yes, thank you. Again, I'll be in the back if you have any other questions or pick up a flyer with the dates on it. Thank you.
All right, we're getting close to the end, but there's a couple things that I just heard that I want to mention. One thing that Christina mentioned, and it just slipped my mind. Hopefully it'll come back to me. I heard a question from a parent a few minutes ago about the SAT and ACT. All four-year colleges accept both. It does not matter which one you take. It used to be popular to do the ACT in the middle part of the country and parts of the East Coast, and the SAT was basically the entire West Coast. Now, every college or every student in high school can take both. It does not matter what school they're thinking about going to. Okay, so good question, thank you very much. And hopefully that thing about City College will come back to my mind. But anyway, let's move on. Okay, so Aries Portal. So if you don't know of this, all your students have access to this Aries account system. This is the portal that they recently, in the last week or two, have selected their classes for next year. This is also where students can log on and check their attendance. This is where you can log on and check their attendance. A lot of you will get those robocalls and those parent square messages if your student is absent or tardy, but you can also see the full record of it on Aries. Same with all records of student grades. So this is different than NEO. So Aries will count or track attendance and their semester grades, quarter grades, and progress reports. Okay? And it's where students select their classes. NEO is their daily homework. It's their classroom portal is what NEO is. So that's kind of the difference between those two. To access Aries, I find the easiest way is just go to our main high school website, scroll down to the very bottom right, and it will say Aries Student Portal. Okay, almost there. So I want to highlight this. I just finalized this today, actually. Not this summer, but summer after. So when your kids are juniors, I'm going to start doing summer college tours, if any of you are interested. It's not free. I hate to say it, it's not free. It will cost some money, but there will be some scholarships available as long as I get some signups. So my first trip is going to be to Washington, D.C., down to the Research Triangle, and those are all the colleges I'm going to go visit, and I'm hoping to have a large group of students from Santa Barbara, but also other schools too. So it's kind of a community thing. It's not just the Santa Barbara High School, but I work at Santa Barbara High School, so I'm partial to all of you. I'd rather go with your kids than DP kids, but anyway, I'll say that. Okay, moving on. CSF NHS. So your students may have gotten an invitation, perhaps, Monday or today, regarding CSF and NHS. There's always all sorts of questions about this, especially because in years past, we really did not do the process all that correct. So I'm trying to get us back to the correct process. So if you're a student for NHS, well, let's go CSF first because that's on top. So students can qualify 10th grade through 12th grade based on their previous semester grades. With CSF, they need to qualify and be a member for 4 semesters out of a total of 6 from 10th through 12th. One of them has to be senior year. And the CSF calculation is loosely A's and B's in college prep, honors, and AP and dual enrollment classes. It's a mathematical calculation, so it roughly translates to about a 3.2 GPA, but that's very, very rough. NHS is another, hang on just a second. NHS is another honor society that's national, and students can be members 9th through 12th grade. And that, in order to be a lifetime member, you have to qualify and be a member 6 semesters out of 8. One of them, again, has to be their senior year, so they can miss 2. And then the CSF, you can miss 2 as well. And then NHS is straight 3.0 GPA and a history of community service in the previous semester. Okay, so that's roughly that. This information is also on our school website. I'm happy to talk with you individually about this. It is a kind of a messy process, so feel free to ask any question you might want. I'm happy to answer any of them. And yes, what was your question?
You say it needs to be the semester before, so CSF would be not until they finish second grade.
Not till they finish, so 9th grade doesn't count, but so your 10th graders right now, their first semester just ended. So that, yes, yes. And they should have gotten an invitation Monday or today. All the students that qualified, I sent invitations. It's roughly 1,000 students in the school, so there's a lot of work, but got them out yesterday and today. If your student did not get one and think they do, have them ask their teacher, because I'm betting they're sitting on the teacher's desk. Yes. Yeah, so membership dues are $3 per semester per honor society. Yeah. Okay, last thing. Okay, not last thing. Yes. They both are. They both are due the end of this month, yes. No. No retroactive membership. That was one of the things that we used to do that technically broke the rules. Yes. Correct. Yes. And we make it a long window, so we highly doubt they'll be absent for 2.5 weeks straight. So we make it that long window.
I only read about the NHS in my parents' grades, the CSF wasn't.
There should have been another message that went out. I'll check on that, but it should have gone out about the same time. No, I believe you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, last thing I promise. Social media. We are definitely ramping up our use of social media with your kids, appropriately, of course. We are definitely far more active on Instagram and Facebook, and now that we've started live streaming, we will be more active on YouTube as well. So this session will also be available for viewing on YouTube. So definitely consider following us. This gets far more important going into junior and senior year. We post a lot more stuff about, and specifically for juniors and seniors. Okay? Well, thank you all very much for coming. And we're all going to stick around a few minutes and answer any individual questions. And thank you. Have a good day.